Hi, friends. We're here and we are so live. It's Wednesdays with Whitney and Emily today. The lady that needs no introduction in my news feed. So today we are going to talk about building community. There she is, building community. And we're currently at the brand launch headquarters. Pretty cool, pretty echoey, so sorry about that, but we're still here. And we're in front of this amazing backdrop that Jackie with Balloon Bar DSM made for us. We had a hummingbird event, which we'll get into more later. We had a hummingbird event where we gathered all of our peeps. Oh my gosh, can you say that? Oh. Our charm, where we gathered our charm together and did photos on this cool backdrop. So this will be up for a while, so if you want to stop in. But anyway, today we're going to talk about community building and how we love that and do that. And I don't know, I'm going to kick it over to you and we can start talking about influence.
Yes. Okay. So I guess for anyone who wouldn't understand like what BLHQ is or what Hummingbirds is,
Launch HQ.
Yeah, Brand Launch HQ. Whitney and I got together as business wives a year or so ago and really started talking about influence and what it means to have a personal brand and to show up in your community and to make a difference, and really saw an opportunity to mobilize people on behalf of causes they love and things we believe in, because everyone has a voice. Everyone has potential to make impact. And so we've just been like finding creative ways to help people show up better, more intentionally. And now we have the Hummingbirds, which is a group of people who do that on behalf of brands. So
and when we were talking about building community and how we each built community, I mean, Emily and I came together very specifically because that's what we were doing. So you were building it through Femme City, which I am a part of and love, and credit a lot of my business success to that group. And then I was working really diligently, still am, to build community at Ivory House and build community around ideas. So what I want to talk a little bit about Femme City and how you built that community and what that looks like.
Yeah. So I would say 2.5 years ago, I had the opportunity to oversee Femme City Des Moines and kind of have a new vision with it. And really at that time in my life and the career, I was working full time for someone else. I was just like looking for women in business that I could learn from, that I could connect with, and the opportunity came and I was like, well, just kind of see what happens, and started putting an event calendar together.
This is like subtext of Emily's life. Let's see what happens. Let's go in with enthusiasm.
Smile a lot. Enthusiasm does have a lot of impact, but it does. But anyway, just started putting a calendar of events together, inviting people, getting really strategic about how I invited people and how I showed up in kind of the marketing world, and built community at every single event. Just opened the door and said like, you're welcome here. Created free events to just gauge interest, and really created a space for women on all walks of life, whether they're side hustling or they're in corporate America but feel like they're an entrepreneur, or people who have been at it for like dozens of years, right? Like this is a space that's positive, that's like high vibe, and you leave just like inflated, like like, oh yeah. And so we've been at it 2.5 years. We have hundreds of people involved at this point that just like feel a sense of home with the community, and that's really all we can ask for. So yeah.
And I love, so I even want to take the idea of building community down to like the granular level. Yeah. Because when I think about building community, I think, community means that there are people who are invited, and who's invited. Yeah. And I think something that I loved about Femme City is it wasn't like necessarily a type of person. It was obviously someone who like wanted to be in business or around women in business, but what really attracted me to the group was the positivity and the enthusiasm that comes from leadership and then trickles down. So when you show up at an event, all you feel around you is positivity and enthusiasm, because the saying is your vibe attracts your tribe, and like that's it. Totally. And so when I started going to Femme City events, first of all, I was pretty new still to Des Moines at that time, like quite new. showing up. I didn't know anybody in that community. I didn't know Em. I didn't, like, all of the people that I hang out with now were new to me at that point, and I felt welcome. Yeah. And I think that that is, when we feel like we're not a part of a community, we feel unwelcome. Yeah. And what is that? What is on the other side of that that's saying, like, you're not welcome here? Right. And like, when I think about that a lot, and like what we're building and what anything that we try to do, our whole goal is that there's not a barrier to entry. The only barrier is your desire. You have to want it. You have to want to show up for it. Yes. And if you are doing it, it doesn't, like, your job, your gender, like, none of this, like, none of the external whatever it is matter, right, as long as the desire's there.
Yeah. And I think, like, you just reminded me of that, the experience that Femme City events are, and that what we're doing with Hummingbirds is really about being present with people. So, like, at every Femme City event, like, if there's not someone welcoming someone, like, I am, like, kind of panicking. Like, I always, like, that has to be a point. So I'm saying this for anyone who's like, I've tried events, like, I've tried building community through my store, through my business, and it doesn't work. It's like, how do you show up for the people? Are you welcoming them? Are you greeting them? Like, do you remember people's names? Like, I know that's a stressful point for a lot of people, but even something as simple as that means so much to people, or just, like, remembering details about their life. Like, oh my gosh, didn't you mention you were just in Mexico? Like, how was the trip? Like, it becomes a habit the more you get into those kind of conversations with people. But that's, like, at the lowest point of community building. It's seeing people, recognizing what you see in them and verbalizing it, and then reinforcing it. And, like,
recognizing and reinforcing. Oh my God, we should write that down. Hang on, write it. Right, okay. She's gonna write it down. I'm gonna keep talking.
We have moments.
So, and that I'm gonna transition a little bit. Okay, so. So Ivory House does, I mean, my whole philosophy when I moved here, I didn't know anybody, so I kind of had to build a community from scratch, just like you started building the Femme City community from scratch. And Femme City is something I found to help me build community, but I know that as a photographer, the market is saturated. Like, we've got lots of good talent here. And that actually is what made me know I could come here, is that there were photographers kicking butt, getting paid, and, like, showing up as professionals here. And I was like, okay, there's a market. I'm not worried. But in all of that, that means that I have to do my job to build my own community with my own skill sets and get really defined. And there's, I don't know who said this, I'm gonna have to go back, but it's, the saying is, people don't buy better, because for the most part, like, better is so relative. They buy different. And I had to really figure out exactly what was different about me, and then build my community around that. And I really quickly settled on the fact that the people who I promoted, the people whose photos I shared, were not going to be based on any sort of, like, arbitrary societal standards of beauty. And that, like, everybody had a place in my newsfeed. Everybody that came to my studio had a place in my Instagram. And that's been so important to me, that building that community around the idea that everyone deserves to show up. Everyone deserves an incredible photo of themselves, and if you don't believe that about yourself, then, like, I am gonna do whatever I can do to get you to the point where you take that leap. Because that's, I mean, I posted a photo yesterday of me with no makeup on, which, like, it's kind of great. Like, I show up with no makeup on pretty frequently. It's not a weird thing in my daily life, but I was realizing that on Facebook, I was showing up very done, very polished a lot. And Emily's always encouraging me to, like, you know, live more in the moment. And we're back. I got a phone call. Probably a wrong number. We'll find out later. But just wanting to encourage people to show up however it is that they are. And I think that that's the same thing with Femme City, and that's really what brought us both together, was this strong desire to not only bring people together, but bring people together for a cause. And so we were both doing that in our own brands. And then when brand launch happened, that was just like our brain baby. Our brain baby made brand launch. And that was really about, like, how do you show up uniquely yourself? Personal branding, first First step.
Yep.
How do you get clear on your personal brand? How do you communicate that effectively so that when people see you in person, they know what to expect?
Yeah.
Because social media is now our calling card.
It is.
It's what we pass out.
I remember a couple weeks ago or something, someone I had not met, but we have been like Facebook friends for a while, just how the world works. She was like, wow, you are exactly the same as you are on your social media. And I was like, that's awesome. That's like, awesome. That's the point, is to like make those two, how do you make that an authentic and real experience? And it seems so like, can feel really superficial, but at the same time, like that is, people are taking in information on us all the time. So how do you create something that really is true to who you are? So people expect, there's just predictability, like, right? As humans, we want predictability in people and experiences and whatever. So we help people curate that a little bit more intentionally.
I like it. Yeah. So, and to show up authentically, you first have to know how that goes for yourself, because everybody's totally different. Like, and everybody has their own unique vibe, which is kind of how our big project that Emily and I are working on right now is called the Hummingbirds. If you haven't heard about it, now is time. It's happening. So the Hummingbirds are a group of people, community builders in Des Moines, who are true believers in showing up for themselves, showing up for their community, showing up for events and brands that they love and want to support. And we're gathering them all. So Emily and I are gatherers. This is just what we do. But now we want to, and we are already taking these social media community builders and finding businesses that need a little momentum, and we're pairing them together and saying, for our birds, we just had a gathering here on Monday night, which was so uplifting. And just like saying, listen, we are literally here to bring you businesses that need a little love, but you have to want to be a part of it. Yeah. The first thing always, and we preach this with our Hummingbirds too, is when you get a job coming across on a work order, and you have to think, do I want to do this? Like for me, what's something like outdoorsy stuff, like I'm not gonna promote like camping, because like we've met me, right? It's not gonna happen. Like, but like, why is she going camping? It'd be one of those like little horror stories of like, girl goes camp. I have gone camping, guys. Whatever. It's fine. Years ago. Don't need to do it again. So like really finding those businesses and those birds that are a beautiful match, and bringing all of these ideas together. The idea of community building, business growth, like it's
delicious. That's my favorite word lately. Yes. And I think what's really interesting about this is that we're actually like trying not to say influencer. We're trying to actually flip it on its head in some ways and kind of create our own marketing tool that is not yet on the market, which is always exciting to the marketing strategist person in me. But the idea that the everyday person is an influencer. Like, I think Jenna Kutcher, if you follow her, the other day was like, on Instagram, if you have one follower, you're an influencer. And like, that's the point. Like, we all have influence, so how do we do it in a bigger, broader way with community builders, people who like show up and they have 500 Instagram followers, but they still have influence and their voice still matters, because people make decisions based on what their recommendations are. So it's very exciting.
When our whole, everyone has influence, and we have bigger influence together. So when we send birds out to a business, they go in groups. They go in small charms. So a hummingbird group is a charm, which we thought was too perfect. But our whole philosophy is that like our birds go together and they promote something together, and then they build community. On Monday night, seeing all the birds who had never met, and like some people, we're getting to the really cool part where we're meeting new people. Yeah. Oh gosh, when that starts happening, it's like, not that, we're still meeting people every day, but I feel like sometimes it feels like there's a certain saturation there. Yes. And then when it's proven wrong, every single time we have one of these events and new people show up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much good stuff here.
And like what they want to do and create, because I feel like at this point, like I'm almost 30, so I feel like meeting all of these younger people, or like Gen Zers, like I think it's Gen Z. They're just like, they bring something so new and fresh to the table that like I just don't normally see, just because of like what I've gotten used to doing. Even in Femme City, we kind of see the same people a lot, and like that's great and community building in and of itself. But oh my gosh, these young people, I can say that now.
Yes, we are in our 30s almost. Yeah, I'm solidly there. But I think when we think about the future of like what we're doing and what we're thinking, Des Moines has really taught us how to build community. So I think that we took something that was already happening in Des Moines and figured out how to make it a thing. Because when I moved back and when I've had friends, you know, come visit me, they're like, Des Moines is so special. Des Moines is so special. And the reason it's special is that we mobilize around things we care about. And we mobilize around people with good ideas. And if we see something real and authentic, we lift it up. And it's truly the most beautiful part about this town. And why even when it's been sub-zero forever, we will still be here. Because it's like worth it. So, if you're interested in being a hummingbird, or if you're a business that needs a little momentum or hummingbird love, please let Emily or I know. You can go to the Brand Launch website, or you can just reach out to us, whatever is easiest. But we really, we're here to help people build community. Your community, find your people, figure out how to talk about yourself. If you need help with that, that can be like one of the hardest parts.
It can. I think like a lot of people who have been interested in hummingbirds and just like this idea of building community a little bit better have started doing like a 2-hour deep dive with us, which is just our way to explore like, what are you doing now, what's working, and like where's there opportunity to support your community? Because I see so many people who are like, here's my service, here's my product, here's my this. I'm like, no, talk about everyone else except you, and you will get more business. And it's just like, it's a different way of thinking about it, but it's about building community, because when you show up for your community shows up for you. It's what we firmly believe and what we've both done over the last few years, separate and together. So that's a really great place to start if you're like, I don't know how to use Instagram to build community. Like, we do. Let us help you. And then, if hummingbirds make sense, great. We're just thrilled that people are learning about it and experiencing it.
Awesome. So thanks for joining us at Brand Launch headquarters in front of this amazing backdrop.
Balloon Bar DSM, if anyone just is now hearing about it.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
And like, I just feel so like fresh in front of this, but I also dressed to match, so there's that.
She did actually.
Well, I will be back next week. Emily, I'm sure we'll be back very many times over the course of the next few years. And you guys have a great day.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.